sharing stories helps us to become a more welcoming and supportive community. Stories also work to overcome stereotyping and prejudice. The video you are about to see gives you a sample of these stories that make up the people of Darebin.
It's Saturday mid-morning and I can hear the neighbours calling out, Il pollaio è arrivato, il pollaio è arrivato. Translation means the chicken man is here.
As we know, Darebin is a very multicultural place. Over the last 50 years, people from all over the world have been settling here to start a new life. Every one of these people has their own story. A story is a window into who they are.
I let them in and offered them the customary coffee for 7 a.m. in the morning as they began to sprawl the large utensils, pots and pans across our kitchen table.
Hearing their stories helps us to understand and empathise with people who may be quite different to ourselves.
But I won't forget the place, the country that I was born. I was born and grew there, and I'll never forget it.
The project started with some workshops held by local author and storyteller Arnold Zabel. The workshops gave the participants the confidence and enthusiasm to tell their stories. Then Jackie Mansourian worked with the group to help them shape and write down their stories.
Stories of migrants and refugees to Australia in terms of the challenges, but also what we brought and also what we've learnt in terms of the settlement experience.
And finally, a special storytelling day was held where people told their stories to each other and to a wider audience. The video documents some of these stories and makes them available to a wider audience and then to the next younger generation. But it also serves as an encouragement for others to tell their stories and so make the project go on.
And at the age of 21, things were not very good in Cyprus. I had not a regular job, and in 1951 I decided to migrate to Australia for a better life. That was early in January 1952. I found out that it was not easy to make money, and I decided to go outside Melbourne where I could save a bit of money, I thought. And I got a job at Yallourn, at the State Electricity Commission. And at Yallourn, when I arrived at Yallourn, people there, they took me to a store and they gave me a big bag to fill it up with straws to use it as my bed. I slept on straws for 2.5 years when I came here. That was a big difference to what it is now. Also took me to a canteen and they gave me a fork, a spoon and a knife and a cup for a cup of tea. At Yallourn, after I started work, I found out there was people working there from all different countries, and there was only one pub at Yallourn, and people had to walk for 3 or 4 kilometers to get to the pub. And they've been drinking beer. There was bookies there for races, and most of the money was going to the pub. And after they been drinking, after work, they used to go to the camp where we used to live, and there was fights between them because they were drunk. They didn't know what they're doing. They were drunkards. And it was dangerous to live in the camp.
I was born in Tripoli, north of Lebanon. I study soil testing, and all my life I was dreaming to be an actress. So I study actors for 3 years, and I play in the TV and a movie as well, and couple series on the television and theater as well. But
والكرسي بدها تنحط هون، لا هون هون. أفتقلني بتكسرن هالرابط. بس واحد منكم شم بريحة دور تحت الدين أو يسمع
But it was my dream. I call it my dream because a dream usually doesn't last long. My mom, I wake up and then I hear her saying, "Mom, hurry up, you have to pack your stuff and we are leaving now." I say, "Mom, why?" And she said, "Don't say any word or then answer me. I need you to pack your stuff and we need to go. We have to leave Lebanon now because it's not safe anymore for us to be there." So we left, me and my sister. We have 3 sisters and my brother, and we went to Kuwait, where my father, he was before us, supporting us financially. So we left with little stuff in our bags, and we went to Kuwait. Even it was an Arabic country, but still we felt the differences. We felt the hard, like something really happening to us. We didn't know how and why. We settled in Kuwait, and after that I got married, and I went to America when I had my daughter Tina. From there I came to Australia and living back then, which is 1986. Back then, the lifestyle, I could say, being with the family, and back home, the mom, her role to look after the children. So I was a housewife, and mom looked after Tina, and the father always support the family financially. So I didn't feel the changes or the differences in coming a new country.
I was living in Sudan, in southern Sudan particular. During the civil war, I flew to Kenya. Then from Kenya, we came to Australia. Through the organization, through UNHCR and Australia government. What was happening in southern Sudan was a civil war between the north and the south. That's the thing what made me to go to Kenya. Get my flight from Nairobi, Kenya to Melbourne. First, I was being accommodated, given a public housing in Reservoir, which is in Darebin. My living the first day when I arrived in Australia was a bit scared because of the experience which I have already got in Kenya. What was happening in Kenya, there was a local community which was used to come and get our ration by looting our ration, and also they can kill people randomly. When I arrived in Australia, I thought that the life here in Australia was very nice and was really very good. The first day when I arrived in Australia, I was a bit scared because I got a light everywhere, and the houses, a lot of houses, but the thing that scared us, there was no people who are moving around that houses. So we thought that, hi guys, what's happening? And from there, with my kid, I told them that no, nobody should go outside because we don't know what's happening here. And who are the people who are living around here in Darebin? And initially, in the morning when we arrived, and in the afternoon, at night when we arrived, and the person who took us to that house, he gave us orientation of the house, but he forget one thing, in which that he didn't tell us where to get our food on that day. Then we slept without getting a food, and then in the morning when we wake up, the case worker from MRC came in. So we tell him that we don't know where the breakfast is, and then he show us, this is your thing, this is your thing. We say, we slept without nothing while the food was there. We lived there for only 1 month without even, we used only from the house to bank and calls and Centrelink. We came into our house, we sleep there, I told my kid nobody will go out because we don't know who should we contact and who should we meet and who should we talk. The first house was being given by the government, which was a migration that brought us. Then we stayed there for 1 month, for 3 months, because that was a policy that if you came here in a refugees visa, you have to be accommodated for only 3 months, and then after 3 months, then you will be looking to be independent.
And after 2.5 years at Yallourn, I decided to leave for Melbourne to get a better job, better wages. So I went to the Commonwealth Aircraft Corporation and I got a job there. After that I went to the Melbourne Technical School as well, and I finished my apprenticeship there. And at the Commonwealth Aircraft Corporation I was promoted and I got a better job as a supervisor. And I stayed there for 38 years, working at the Commonwealth Aircraft Corporation. And also I went and lived at Darebin at Westcott. I got married in 1955. I met my wife and we got married. And I bought a house at Westcott. And I lived there for 9 years at Westcott. The people at Westcott were beautiful people. It was people from other nationalities like Greeks, Italians, some Aboriginals there. My neighbor was Sir Douglas. It was a lot of people that I met there, and I stayed for 9 years. When I was living at Westcott, I bought a car. I bought a utility, an FJ. That was the first car that came out in Australia. And one day we had to go for a picnic to Maroondah Dam. And I serviced my car the previous day. And when I went to this picnic the following day, I had trouble with the car. It broke down. And lucky we had an Australian family with us, and he had a good car. And he gave us a lift, and until I towed the car down to the town and repair it. At the picnic, we're supposed to cook a lamb, on the spit, a whole lamb. We're supposed to cook it on the spit. And we were late, but then we decided we should cook it, and we light a fire. Up at Maroondah Dam, after Maroondah Dam, where is a river there, is a nice picnic spot. And a lot of people come around. They didn't see any Spitfire lamb before. And we gave them some meat and they ate, and they like it, and they say thanks and a lot of things. And we spent a beautiful day there. Apart from the trouble I had with the car, it was a beautiful day.
The 60s and 70s were, in a way, good years because my parents belonged to an Italian social club, which gave us a lot of interaction with the same age group. Being 12 years of age at the time, there were children older, people older, so we were always looked after in some way. We had a youth committee, which was fantastic. That's how I grew up. So that was like a saviour. But it was a community. It was a community group, and it didn't really involve anything other than the Italian community. We had picnics, we had film nights, we had dance nights, beach picnics, snow picnics, and it was a great time of growing. Later on, I was also a representative of the club, and they held as you call, charity functions, charity pageants, and supposedly that. We raised funds, we had lots of fundraising events, and that was more community spirit, and the community always came together to support and help. But at the same time, it was a little bit ostracised from everyone else, and we were very protected and kept within the community, and they didn't want any other influence other than the community influence. And then what I do recall vividly was the story of Gladstone Avenue, Northcote, a street that had so much happening. And when I started writing my story and remembering a story that had, I believe, if I can recall now, 11 different nationalities. We had people like, we had like a self-service, a mobile service, as you would call it now. We had a fishmonger who'd bring fish on a Saturday, or a Friday, we had the chicken man who would bring chicken. He was of medium build, hair brushed back like a rocker, and greying temples, always wore checkered shirt, blue jeans and a brown belt, to which was attached a brown leather money pouch with a latch. We had a farrier. This was a gentleman at the back that would be doing horseshoes for all the racing horses in our street. We had the bottle-o man who used to collect bottles, empty beer bottles, which there was an alley at the back of our street. We had the milkman with his clip-clop in the hours of the morning, which I remember, that's how we had our fresh milk. We also had the iceman who would put a sack on his back and bring the ice into our fridges. That's how we started. But all these people, I remember, was a full community, and there wasn't it was like a little village for us, but everyone came together and everyone helped each other. It was a wonderful childhood in that respect.
In 1993, I became a single mom. Back then, facing again the new culture. First of all was the language barrier, and I felt it so badly, and the battle to keep my daughter was too emotional as well for me, but I got support from my two sisters, where with the community it was difficult to accept me as a single divorced woman, but with lots of support I got from my sisters, it helped me going, and again I stay a couple, months feeling sorry for myself, and then I had to say to myself, this is it, I have to start now, look forward. One day when I was with my friend going to the park, and my friend, she's covering, and we all from the Muslim background, and then a guy approached us and he said to us, go back to your country, you don't belong here.
It wasn't easy being a child of migrant parents, because we were ostracised. We felt that we were very different, our food was very different, and I just recall wanting to fit in and wanting, to have square bread instead of that big, huge, thick sliced bread that we had. I went back to my parents' home country, where I discovered another world, a totally different world. I discovered that they had moved, they had emancipated, they were very different, they were very open, and we were still here living in Australia in a very protected, closed environment. Being at home was one world, leaving my home was another world of knowledge, education, advancement, and I just felt lost. Again, I didn't belong. I didn't belong there, I didn't belong at home, and I remember questioning and asking for some freedom with my brother. My brother and I approached my parents one evening and said, we really would like to feel, to feel independent and for us to have an understanding, and the only way we can do this is by leaving the home. And that was the worst thing that could have happened or asked for. It was so traumatic within the family, and that we just let that go.
I have a large extended family on my dad's side, and I have the good fortune of actually having many of them live here in Melbourne, and we did all sorts of things together. So I grew up very much in Australia as having a family that was just as close-knit and tight as they would have been had they all been living in Sri Lanka in the villages that they might have come from. My aunt and uncle rapped on the back door, where no one usually came through, except for us residents of the house. The sun had barely risen and was mischievously concealing himself behind grey clouds. I cursed him for not waking me up with his warm rays, leaving the duty to my relatives' crisp knocks. My glaring at my aunt and uncle for their extremely early wake-up call was barely visible through my mother's lace curtain hanging before the glass door. So up until the age of 4, I apparently could only speak Tamil. I didn't really know my English very well. But then once I started going to kindergarten and then obviously prep and all that, my English was so much more the dominant language. instead of walking to school sometimes, we'd actually have a very lovely lady by the name of Vicky Maslin, who would actually pick us all up in her van. So she would come round and to each door, and off we would rush off in the morning, and it would be us, a lot of our cousins, at least about 6 or 7 of them, and a few other kids, usually some of them from a Lebanese background, some of them from a Chinese background or a Vietnamese background, and we would all go into St Bernadette's Primary School and jump out of this van one by one, and it was always a sight to see, I'm sure, for the other kids, because we were such a multicultural van. And now when you look back on it, it was really just a lovely experience for all of us to have gotten to know each other back at that stage. And I have to say that a lot of the memories of my childhood are very fondly shaped by the memories of my family around me. So I always had a good connection with my Sri Lankan heritage. We were always speaking Tamil together. We were always going to things like religious festivals together. So I was always able to embrace my cultural heritage as strongly as possible. It was always hard to try and adjust to what this Australian world was like, but it was always something that we were constantly going to be growing up and learning about. I remember when, again in primary school, we had a school sports day, and it was a fancy dress up day actually, and we were asked to dress up in the colours of our football team. Now, we didn't even know what team we cared for, because it wasn't something that, our grandfathers and uncles and aunts and fathers themselves, they all loved their cricket, so we knew to support the Sri Lankan cricket team. Maybe some rogues would go and support the Australian cricket team, but we were always about cricket, so footy didn't matter to us. But then someone said we'll go for Essendon, and ever since then we've all just started supporting Essendon. I remember all of us rocking up, again jumping out of the van in our red and black clothes, dressed up to show our proud support for the team that we had selected on a whim. I was initiated into the art of mridangam, which is the South Indian drum, and it was a way of once again keeping in touch with our culture. I also attended Tamil school, even though many of us were learning English. Many parents of people who were second generation Tamils wanted their children to learn this language and be at least bilingual or carry forward some legacy that they had brought over from the homeland. So these have become the forefront of our cultural activities, and to this day I continue to perform. I have numerous memories of performing in Melbourne. I think it's one of the greatest experiences that I've actually had. Performing is, I think, a wonderful skill, and it's something that you have to learn. And to think that, looking back, I've had the chance to perform not only solo but also in group performances. Even today, I still perform annually for the Darebin Music Feast.
As I said in the first place, that I was fleeing from Sudan Sudan to Kenya. I wasn't have any skill. I wasn't have any. All my document has already been wrapped up. It was lost and everything, nothing there. So I have to come. When I arrive here in Australia, I have to start from zero. The challenge is, when we come back in order to do all the qualifications, we do them for the purpose in order to get a job. But unfortunately, I don't know. Unfortunately, I can't get a job because I don't know. I can't say any reason for it. But sometimes when you apply and have all the documentation, put them into resume, saying that to sell yourself to the other, they'll say, yeah, it's a good, very good qualification. But some people, they say, no, you are over qualifications. But if you ignore them and say, no, I don't want to put all those things, you put even a certificate. They say, no, you are not qualified in order to get this job. So I don't know which is which, and the things are falling apart, in which that the thing cannot be going accurately, the way someone was planning to. It is very important also for us to have interaction with the different communities or different persons or different different people. The experience, that experience, and the reason is, first of all, it is nowadays is whom you know. The second thing is, it is very important for people in order to have a link with the other people.
every time like I feel that I miss my town, Lebanon, the culture full of clothes, culture, Arabic food, and lots of energy, the hospitality. I go to Preston Market and I could hear the people speaking my language, tasting the food there. Like they have something, it's only in Lebanon they used to grow this vegetable, and then the mosque there, the park there, and it's especially the Darebin Interculture Center where I feel every time that I need to taste or try different culture, I could go there and meet other people and know about them and feel like we all same.
We hope to work with people of different backgrounds in the Darebin community, such as the Greek backgrounds or the Italian or Chinese or Lebanese, and there is such an array of cultures in Darebin that really provides such strong scope for this, and it's something that we hope. I think it's a wonderful way of showing Darebin that we can all work together.
I live in Doncaster, but when I come back to Northcote, I come back home. That's how I feel. It's home to me. And I'm getting a bit emotional, which is part of who I am.
When I left Cyprus, my mother was crying why I'm leaving, and I promised her that in 2 years' time I will be back. But after I came here, and eventually I got a good job, I've got a family here, it's hard for me to go back. My roots are here in Australia, and I love Australia.